Ambassador Park So-young sat in the massive council chamber and listened to the same words she had heard for 3 months. The tall alien with purple skin and 4 arms waved angrily at the holographic display showing the battle near Kepler Station. "The humans used excessive force," Counselor Zethkara shouted. "They destroyed 12 of our finest warships in minutes. This proves humans are too violent to remain free in our galaxy." Park kept her face calm. But inside, she felt tired. Very tired. This was the 47th species to condemn humanity this week. The Galactic Council had been meeting every day since the Kepler incident, and every day brought more demands that humans be controlled. She looked around the chamber at the hundreds of alien faces staring down at her. Some had scales. Others had fur. Many had extra arms or strange eyes. All of them looked angry or afraid when they looked at the small human section. Ambassador Park, called the council speaker, a being that looked like a walking tree with crystals for leaves. "What is humanity's response to these serious charges?" Park stood slowly. She was small compared to most aliens in the room, barely reaching the chest of the shortest council member. Her black hair was pulled back in a simple style, and she wore the dark blue uniform of the Human Diplomatic Corps. "The charges are wrong," she said clearly. Her translator made sure every species could understand her words. Captain Lee Min-jun and his patrol ships did not attack anyone. They defended the colony of New Sol from raiders who came to steal and kill. "Defended?" screamed another alien, this one covered in spikes. "Your captain destroyed an entire battle group." "He disabled their weapons and engines," Park replied. "Every Zephyrian crew member survived. Captain Lee could have destroyed all your ships completely, but he chose not to kill anyone." The chamber erupted in angry sounds. Aliens made clicking noises, growls, and electronic beeps that all meant the same thing. They did not believe her. The council speaker raised one crystalline branch for silence. "The evidence shows human weapons are far more powerful than any species knew. This makes humans dangerous to galactic peace." Number 4. Number 4. Park had heard this argument many times. 3 months ago, Zephyrian pirates had attacked the human farming colony of New Sol. They came with 30 warships, planning to take crops, equipment, and people to sell as slaves. What they found was Captain Lee Min-jun's small patrol of just 5 human ships. The battle lasted 8 minutes. When it ended, every Zephyrian ship was floating helplessly in space with their weapons destroyed and their engines dead. Not one human ship had a scratch on it. Not one Zephyrian had died. That should have been the end of it. Pirates defeated, colonists saved. Everyone goes home. But the galaxy saw something else. They saw that humans had been hiding their true strength for decades. "The human containment protocol is ready for voting," announced Counselor Vexthera of the Hegemony. She was a reptilian creature with golden scales and cold yellow eyes. "All human worlds will be placed under direct alien supervision. Human ships will be limited to slow travel only. Human children will be sent to alien worlds for proper education to reduce their violent nature." Park felt something cold settle in her chest. They wanted to take human children away from their families. They wanted to control every human world. They wanted to cage humanity because humans had shown they could defend themselves. "This protocol ensures humans cannot threaten galactic peace," Vexthara continued. "Humans will be relocated to monitoring stations where they can be watched and controlled." Around the chamber, alien heads nodded in agreement. Some species looked sad about it, but they still nodded. They were afraid of what humans might do if left free. Park looked at the communication device on her wrist. One button press would send a message across the galaxy. She had hoped it would never come to this. Humans had tried for 50 years to be good citizens of the galaxy. They had shared their medicine, their farming techniques, their engineering knowledge. They had helped build trade routes and peaceful agreements. They had fought against pirates and invaders to protect alien worlds. And now the galaxy wanted to put humans in cages. "We call for an immediate vote," Vexthera said. "All in favor of the human containment protocol?" Lights began appearing around the chamber as species voted. Green lights meant yes. Red lights meant no. Park watched as green light after green light appeared. A few red lights showed up, but not many. The tree-being speaker counted the votes. "The protocol passes with overwhelming support. Humanity will be contained for the safety of all." Laughter echoed through the chamber. Some aliens actually laughed at the thought of caging humans. They thought humans were weak and helpless, now that their secret was known. Park stood again. The chamber slowly grew quiet, as aliens waited to hear humanity surrender. "Proposal rejected," she said calmly. "This session is concluded." More laughter filled the air. Vexthara's golden scales seemed to shine with amusement. "Humans have no choice in this matter, Ambassador. The decision is made." Park started walking toward the exit. Her footsteps echoed in the huge chamber as hundreds of alien eyes watched her go. She moved calmly, steadily, showing no fear or anger. As she reached the chamber doors, she pressed the button on her wrist. Across the galaxy, in human ships traveling between stars, the message appeared on every screen. Protocol, Omega. On human colonies scattered across dozens of worlds, the same two words lit up communication centers. Protocol, Omega. In human research stations hidden in asteroid fields, in human diplomatic offices on alien worlds, in human trade ships docked at space stations, the message was the same. Protocol, Omega. Captain Lee Min-jun, still patrolling near Kepler Station, read the message and nodded grimly. Admiral Zhang Hiran, commanding the human fleet at the edge of the galaxy, closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Dr. Choi Ji-hoon, working in his science lab on the hidden research station, immediately began shutting down his experiments. All across human space, people stopped what they were doing and began following plans they had hoped never to use. Park reached her small diplomatic ship and paused at the entrance. She looked back at the council building one last time. Through the transparent walls, she could see aliens celebrating their victory over humanity. They had no idea what they had just done. They had no idea what was coming. Dr. Choi Ji-hoon floated in the zero-gravity section of Research Station Invisible, watching his screens with growing amazement. 24 hours had passed since Ambassador Park had sent Protocol Omega, and the galaxy was starting to panic. The research station hung hidden in the shadow of a dead moon, completely invisible to alien sensors. Choi had spent 5 years here, officially studying stellar phenomena, while actually monitoring alien communications across the galaxy. Today, those communications told a very strange story. "Computer, show me the Regellian trade network," he said. The holographic display lit up with thousands of glowing lines connecting star systems. But many of those lines were now dark. Trade routes that had operated for decades were simply gone. Choi smiled sadly. The aliens were discovering something humans had known for years. Most of the galaxy's trade routes only worked because humans maintained them. Human engineers had designed the navigation systems. Human mechanics kept the jump gates working. Human traffic controllers organized the shipping schedules that prevented crashes. Now all the human ships were gone. All the human workers had vanished. All the human systems were offline. "Display communication logs from the Centauri Alliance," he ordered. Alien voices filled the station, translated into Korean by the computer. Alliance Admiral Crexton was arguing with his supply officers about missing cargo shipments. Medical Officer Yentala was demanding to know why the hospitals were running out of pain medication. Governor Zolthek wanted to know why 3 space stations had lost life support. All of the problems had the same cause. Humans were gone. Choi switched to monitoring the hegemony's military channels. What he heard made him shake his head. General Vex Mora was screaming at his engineers because their attempt to copy human shield technology had resulted in an explosion that destroyed half a research facility. The hegemony had spent years studying captured human equipment, but they never understood how it really worked. "Station Commander to Research Bay 7, came a voice over the intercom. "We have a priority message from Deep Space Reconnaissance." Choi activated his communicator. "Send it through." Commander Yoon Seo-jun's face appeared on the screen. She was aboard the stealth ship Shadow Walker, somewhere deep in alien space where no one could detect her. Her short black hair was messy from wearing a helmet, and her eyes looked tired but alert. "Choi, you need to see this intelligence report," she said. "The situation is worse than we predicted." "How much worse?" he asked. "The Zephyrians are being hunted by 17 different species for revenge. The Retaliates and Centauri Alliance are blaming each other for the human disappearance and are moving fleets to their borders. 3 trade wars started this morning, and the Nexus 7 station is having power failures." Choi felt his stomach drop. Nexus 7 was the seat of galactic government, where the Galactic Council met. If that station was failing, the political situation would become even more dangerous. "What kind of power failures?" he asked. "The kind that happen when the people who designed your electrical systems disappear overnight," Yoon replied. "Choi, I've been watching alien technical teams trying to fix things humans built. They have no idea what they're doing. One team tried to repair a human-designed water recycling plant and ended up flooding an entire city district." The implications hit Choi like a physical blow. Humans hadn't just been participants in galactic civilization. They had been the foundation that held it together. "Send me the full analysis," he said. "I need to compile a report for Fleet Command." While waiting for Yoon's data, Choi pulled up his own research from the past 5 years. The numbers were staggering. 73% of all interstellar infrastructure relied on human engineering. 68% of medical advances had come from human research. 84% of successful planetary terraforming used human techniques. But the most shocking discovery was hidden in classified alien communications he had been monitoring. Humans had been secretly preventing 3 major wars from starting. Human diplomats had been quietly mediating disputes between species that hated each other. Human intelligence officers had been stopping terrorist attacks and assassination attempts. While aliens publicly called humans primitive warmongers, humans had actually been the peacekeepers of the galaxy. "Incoming priority transmission from Admiral Jang," announced the computer. Admiral Jang Hee-rin's weathered face appeared on the main screen. She was aboard the flagship New Dawn, hidden somewhere in the void between galaxies where no alien ship could follow. "Doctor, how are our people handling the transition?" she asked. "All research stations report successful activation of stealth protocols," Choi replied. "No alien sensors have detected any human facility. The concealment technology is working perfectly. See those? Now. Good. What about alien reactions?" "They're panicking, Admiral. Trade networks are collapsing. Medical supplies are running out. Some planets are losing power and water. Without humans maintaining the infrastructure, galactic civilization has maybe 6 months before complete breakdown." Admiral Jang nodded grimly. She had gray hair and scars from decades of service, but her eyes were still sharp. "And they still don't understand? What happened? No, ma'am. They think we either destroyed ourselves or fled to another galaxy. None of them realize we simply stepped out of their visible universe and into our hidden one." That was the truth only a few humans knew. For decades, while publicly appearing to be junior members of galactic society, humans had been building a secret parallel civilization. Hidden bases in pocket dimensions, cloaked colonies in dead star systems, stealth ships that could travel undetected, alternative manufacturing centers that could produce anything humans needed. When the aliens threatened to cage humanity and take human children for re-education, humans didn't fight back with weapons. They simply stepped sideways into the civilization they had built in secret and closed the door behind them. "The aliens wanted us contained," Admiral Jang said quietly. "They're about to learn what containment really looks like." R. Choi looked at his screens showing alien communications. Desperate messages were already starting to appear. Species that had voted to cage humans were now quietly asking if anyone knew how to contact human representatives. Some were offering trade deals, others were promising better treatment, but there were no humans left to hear them. "Admiral, I'm detecting something interesting," Choi said, pointing at one of his displays. "The Nexus 7 station is sending out distress calls. Their life support systems are failing faster than expected. How long before it becomes uninhabitable?" Choi ran the calculations. "At current failure rates, maybe 2 weeks. The station was built using human architectural principles that other species never fully understood. Without human maintenance crews, it's falling apart." Admiral Jang was quiet for a long moment. "The seat of galactic government is dying. Trade networks are collapsing, and alien civilizations are starting to fight each other." "Yes, ma'am. Then Phase 2 begins tomorrow. Prepare to monitor alien attempts to locate human worlds. I suspect they're going to start looking very hard for us very soon." The transmission ended, leaving Choi alone with his screens full of alien panic. Outside his hidden station, the galaxy was coming apart at the seams. Species that had ruled for thousands of years were discovering they couldn't survive without the primitive humans they had tried to contain. The silence left by humanity's disappearance was becoming the loudest sound in the galaxy. President Kang Mi-young stood on the observation deck of New Terra Command and watched the stars that no longer belonged to the galaxy she once knew. 2 months had passed since humanity had stepped out of visible space, and the reports coming from her intelligence teams painted a picture of complete collapse. New Terra was humanity's true capital, hidden in a pocket dimension that existed parallel to normal space. The planet looked much like Earth, with blue oceans and green continents, but it had been built entirely in secret over the past 30 years. No alien species knew it existed. "Madam President," called Captain Shin Dong-wook as he entered the observation deck. His black uniform bore the insignia of Human Intelligence Corps, and his face carried the serious expression of someone bearing bad news. "The latest reports from our field agents are ready." Kang turned from the window. She was a woman in her 50s with silver-streaked hair and the steady gaze of someone who had been making difficult decisions for decades. "How bad is it this time, Captain?" Quote, "Worse than last week," Shin replied, activating a holographic display. "The Rigelian Federation and Centauri Alliance have moved from threatening each other to actual combat. 3 border systems have reported shooting between their fleets." The display showed a map of local space, with red zones marking areas of conflict. There were far too many red zones. "The Zephyrian situation?" Kang asked. 17 species are still hunting them for revenge over the Kepler incident. The Zephyrian home system is under blockade by a joint fleet. Their government is begging for mercy, but nobody is listening. Kang nodded sadly. The Zephyrians had started this crisis by attacking New Sol, but she took no pleasure in seeing them destroyed. Humans had always believed in justice, not revenge. "What about the hegemony's attempts to replace our technology?" Shin's expression grew darker. "Yesterday they tried to restart the manufacturing plant on Kepler 442 using their own people. The explosion was visible from orbit. 43 dead, hundreds injured. They still don't understand that our manufacturing processes require specific knowledge that can't be copied." Engineer Lim Ju-won entered the observation deck, carrying a datapad and looking exhausted. She had been working non-stop to analyze the reports of infrastructure failures across alien space. "President Kang," she said, bowing slightly. "I have the updated analysis on galactic infrastructure decay. Tell me." Lim activated her own display, showing a complex web of connections between star systems. Many of the connections were now blinking red or had disappeared entirely. "The galactic communication network is failing faster than predicted," she said. 17 major relay stations have gone offline in the past week. Without human technicians to maintain the quantum entanglement arrays, Planets are losing contact with each other daily. How many worlds are now completely isolated? Kang asked. Over 200 confirmed, with more every day. Some alien governments are reverting to using light-speed radio, which means messages between nearby systems take years to arrive. Others are trying to send physical messengers, but without human-maintained trade routes, many ships are getting lost. The implications were staggering. For thousands of years, galactic civilization had depended on instant communication between star systems. Governments coordinated policies across vast distances. Trade agreements were negotiated in real time. Emergency responses could be organized galaxy-wide in hours. Now, alien worlds were becoming isolated islands in an ocean of darkness. What about Nexus 7? Shin asked. Lim's face grew grim. Life support is failing on schedule. They've evacuated the residential sections and are now operating with just essential personnel. The atmospheric recycling systems are producing toxic gases because no one knows how to calibrate the human-designed filters. Kang closed her eyes briefly. Nexus 7 wasn't just the seat of galactic government. It was home to over 3 million aliens from hundreds of different species. Diplomats, traders, students, families, all of them now trapped on a dying station. How long before complete failure? She asked. 10 days, maybe less, Lim replied. The structural integrity is also compromised. We built that station to last for centuries, but only with proper maintenance. Without human engineers, it's becoming a death trap. A soft chime indicated an incoming priority message. Shin activated his communicator and listened to the encrypted transmission. President, we're receiving a massive volume of secret communications from alien governments, he reported. They're all asking the same thing. How do we contact human leadership? How many species? All of them. Even the ones that voted for the containment protocol. Even the hegemony. Shin paused, reading from his display. Some are offering territory. Others are promising seats on governing councils. The Altarians are offering to make humans full partners in their trade consortium. And the Zephyrians? They're offering to surrender their entire fleet and submit to human justice for the Kepler attack. Kang walked back to the window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, hundreds of alien civilizations were discovering that the humans they had tried to cage were the only thing keeping their galaxy from falling apart. Any word from our missing colonies? She asked. All human worlds remain successfully hidden. Shin confirmed. Our stealth technology is working perfectly. Alien search fleets have passed within sensor range of New Seoul, New Busan, and New Jeju without detecting anything. As far as they know, those planets are completely empty. The truth was more elegant than that. Human colonies hadn't been destroyed or abandoned. They had been shifted into the same pocket dimensions as New Terra, leaving behind empty worlds that looked like they had been evacuated in a hurry. Alien investigators found abandoned buildings and silent streets, but no clues about where billions of humans had gone. Engineer Lim, Kang said, in your professional opinion, how long before galactic civilization reaches total collapse? Lim consulted her datapad. At current rates of decay, major population centers will start experiencing critical failures within the next month. Food distribution networks are already breaking down. Medical supply chains have mostly stopped working. Power grids are failing on 12 worlds we know of. And the political situation? Captain Shin answered that one. Without the communication network, most governments can't coordinate with their own territories. Colonial worlds are declaring independence because they can't contact their home governments. Trade disputes are turning into shooting wars because nobody can mediate them. The irony, Kang said quietly, is that we were the mediators. While aliens called us warmongers, we were the ones preventing wars. What are your orders, President? Shin asked. Kang was quiet for a long moment, watching the stars and thinking about the children on alien worlds who were going hungry because food shipments weren't arriving. She thought about the families trapped on failing space stations, She thought about the species that would go extinct if their failing life support systems couldn't be repaired. Humans had the power to save the galaxy. The question was whether the galaxy had learned to deserve saving. "Begin Phase 3, she said finally. "It's time to see if they're ready to hear what we have to say." "And if they're not ready?" Lim asked. "Then they'll learn to be," Kang replied. "Because the alternative is watching billions of innocent beings die for the crimes of their governments." Through the window, the stars continued to shine, beautiful and cold, over a galaxy that was slowly dying without the species it had tried to destroy. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was unlike anything in recorded history. Representatives from over 200 species crowded into the main chamber of Nexus 7, their voices creating a chaos of desperate sounds as the dying station groaned around them. Fleet Admiral Ko Sung-min watched the proceedings from the bridge of the invisible command ship Eternal Vigilance, hidden just outside the station's sensor range. The massive vessel was humanity's most advanced warship, built in the secret shipyards of the Pocket Dimension and armed with weapons that could reshape star systems. But today, it served a different purpose: observing the death of the old galaxy. "Admiral," called Dr. Nam In-ho from his science station. "Station life support is down to 18% efficiency. They have maybe 6 hours before the air becomes toxic to most species." Ko nodded grimly. Through the view screen, she could see the great station that had once been the center of galactic civilization. Its elegant spires were now dark, its docking bays filled with the desperate ships of aliens who had nowhere else to go. "Any word from our diplomatic team?" she asked. "Diplomat Bay is standing by for your signal," reported Communications Officer Park. "The holographic transmitter is ready." Ko had served in the human space forces for 40 years, rising from a young pilot to supreme commander of humanity's hidden fleet. She had gray hair now and lines around her eyes, but her voice still carried the authority of someone who had never lost a battle she was allowed to win. "Dr. Nam, show me the tactical analysis of alien search efforts." The holographic display activated, showing the galaxy with thousands of small red dots marking alien expeditions hunting for human worlds. They had been searching for 4 months without success. "Over 3,000 search fleets have been deployed," Dr. Nam explained. "They've visited every former human colony, every known human outpost, every asteroid where humans once mined. They found empty buildings, abandoned equipment, and no signs of where 11 billion humans disappeared to. Have any of them detected our real facilities? Not one. Operation Shadow Step was completely successful. As far as alien sensors can determine, humanity simply vanished from the universe." Ko smiled slightly. Operation Shadow Step had been humanity's greatest achievement and their greatest secret. For 50 years, while publicly acting as junior members of galactic society, humans had been building a complete parallel civilization. Hidden colonies in pocket dimensions, invisible manufacturing centers in dead star systems, cloaked research facilities that existed outside normal space. The key was dimensional technology that no alien species even knew was possible. Humans could shift entire worlds into alternate layers of reality, making them completely undetectable to conventional sensors. When the galaxy threatened humanity's freedom, humans hadn't fled. They had simply stepped sideways into the universe they had built in secret. "Sir," interrupted the communications officer, "we're receiving the transmission from the council chamber." The view screen shifted to show the interior of Nexus 7's Great Hall. The scene was chaos. Alien representatives were arguing, pleading, and demanding answers that no one had. The air recyclers were making grinding sounds that could be heard even over the shouting. Counselor Vex Thera of the Hegemony stood at the central podium, her golden scales dulled by stress and exhaustion. "The situation is critical beyond all previous measures," she announced. 17 governments have collapsed in the past month. 43 worlds have lost all contact with their systems. The Rigelian Federation and Centauri Alliance are in open warfare. "We need the humans back," screamed Admiral Crexton of the Alliance. Our supply lines are gone. Our ships can't navigate the deep routes. Our colonies are dying. But where are they? Wailed Governor Zolthek. We've searched everywhere. Every human world is empty. Every human ship has vanished. It's like they never existed. They must have had hidden bases, suggested another voice from the crowd. Secret fleets. Alternative colonies. We've checked every system within 1,000 light years. Vex Thara replied. Our best scouts have found nothing. No energy signatures, no quantum trails, no subspace communications. The humans are simply gone. Ko watched the aliens blame each other for the crisis while their civilization crumbled around them. Part of her felt sympathy for the ordinary citizens suffering because their leaders had made terrible choices. But another part remembered the vote to cage humanity and steal human children for re-education. Admiral, Dr. Nam said quietly, I'm detecting massive structural stress in the station's core supports. The central tower is about to collapse. How long? Minutes, not hours. Ko made her decision. Signal Diplomat Bay. It's time. The chaos in the council chamber suddenly stopped, as every screen and holographic projector activated at once. The image of Diplomat Bay Yunseo appeared throughout the station, her calm face a sharp contrast to the panic around her. Bay was a woman in her 40s with short black hair and the steady gaze of someone who had negotiated treaties between star systems. She wore the simple gray uniform of the human diplomatic corps, and she spoke in the clear, measured tones of someone delivering an official statement. Representatives of the Galactic Council, she began. This is Diplomat Bay Yonseo of the United Worlds of Humanity. The chamber fell completely silent, except for the groaning of the failing station. For 4 months, you have searched for humanity across the galaxy. You have sent fleets to hunt us. You have demanded our return. You have begged for our help. You have blamed each other for our disappearance. Vex Thara stepped forward, her voice shaking. Diplomat Bay, where are your people? We must negotiate. The galaxy is collapsing without human assistance. Bay's expression didn't change. Humanity is exactly where we have always been. We are in our homes, working in our laboratories, raising our children in safety. The only difference is that we are no longer visible to those who would cage us. That's impossible, protested Dr. Zendala of the Science Consortium. Our sensors would have detected any human facility. Your sensors detect what we allow them to detect, Bay replied calmly. For 50 years, humanity has been building a civilization that exists parallel to yours. We have colonies you cannot see, fleets you cannot track, and technology you cannot imagine. The implications hit the chamber like a physical blow. Aliens looked at each other, with growing understanding and horror. You mean you were never dependent on us at all? Whispered Vex Thara. We were never dependent on anyone, Bay confirmed. We chose to participate in galactic society because we believed in cooperation and peace. We shared our knowledge because we thought it would make the galaxy better for everyone. We maintained your infrastructure because we cared about the innocent people who depended on it. But you seemed so limited, protested Admiral Krexton. Your ships were smaller. Your weapons were weaker. Your colonies were tiny. You saw what we wanted you to see, Bay said. Every act of apparent submission was actually intelligence gathering. Every time we seemed to struggle, we were learning your weaknesses. Every treaty you thought gave you advantages was actually humanity, ensuring we could protect ourselves when necessary. The station shuddered violently, and emergency lights began flashing. The old galaxy is ending. Bay continued, as aliens grabbed for support. Your governments voted to cage humanity, to control our children, to strip away our freedom. You chose fear over friendship. You chose dominance over cooperation. We made a mistake, Vex Thara cried out. Please. Our people are dying. Our worlds are failing. We need your help. Bay was quiet for a moment, her image steady while the station shook around the desperate aliens. "Humanity will return to help save your dying worlds," she said finally. "But the old treaties are finished. The old councils are dissolved. The old galaxy where some species ruled over others is dead." "What do you want from us?" asked Governor Zoltek. "Nothing," Bay replied. "We will rebuild your infrastructure, because innocent people are suffering. We will restore your communications, because isolation leads to conflict. We will repair your stations because we do not wish to see anyone die. And in return? In return, you will live in a galaxy where freedom cannot be voted away, where no species may cage another, where no government can steal children for re-education, where cooperation is chosen, not forced." The station gave a final groan and began to collapse. Emergency evacuation alarms screamed as aliens ran for their ships. "You have 12 hours to evacuate all personnel from this station," Bay announced as her image faded. "Human rescue ships will arrive to prevent casualties. After that, we begin building something better." Ko watched the aliens flee their dying symbol of the old galaxy. In 12 hours, humanity would reveal itself again. But this time, they would return as the guardians of freedom rather than its prisoners. Supreme Coordinator Lee Soo-jin stood in the command center of New Terra and watched the galaxy heal. 6 months had passed since humanity's return, and the transformation was remarkable. Where once there had been chaos and collapse, now there was cooperation and growth. The holographic display showed a real-time map of galactic civilization. Green lights marked healthy systems with working infrastructure. Blue lights showed ongoing reconstruction projects. The red zones of conflict and failure had almost completely disappeared. Coordinator Lee called Ambassador Wu Jae-sung as he approached her position. "The morning reports from our coordination centers are ready." Lee turned from the display. She was a woman in her early 50s with kind eyes and the calm presence of someone who had spent decades solving complex problems. As Supreme Coordinator, she oversaw humanity's efforts to rebuild and guide galactic civilization without controlling it. "Show me the latest numbers, Ambassador." Wu activated his datapad. He was younger than Lee, with the patient manner of a diplomat who had spent years learning to work with dozens of different alien species. "Trade routes are now operating at 95% of pre-crisis levels," he reported. "Communication networks have been fully restored with improved reliability. Medical supply distribution is exceeding previous efficiency by 20%. Any conflicts requiring mediation? 3 minor border disputes, all resolved through the new arbitration process. No military action required." Lee nodded with satisfaction. The new galactic system was working better than anyone had dared hope. Instead of the old Galactic Council, where powerful species controlled weaker ones, there was now a network of regional coordinators who helped species solve problems together. "What about the Zephyrian situation?" she asked. "They've completed their community service program," Wu replied. 17 Zephyrian reconstruction teams helped rebuild the worlds their pirates had attacked. The victims' species have officially forgiven them and established new trade partnerships. That was typical of how justice worked in the new galaxy. Instead of revenge or punishment, mistakes were corrected through service and rebuilding. The Zephyrians had attacked New Sol, so they spent 2 years helping to build hospitals and schools on the worlds their people had harmed. And the former hegemony worlds? Prospering. Without the burden of supporting an oppressive military, they've been able to focus on science and culture. 3 major medical breakthroughs came from former hegemony researchers last month. A soft chime indicated an incoming transmission from the peacekeeping forces. General Park Chan-ho's weathered face appeared on the main screen. He was aboard the patrol ship Gentle Strength, monitoring the border region between the former Rigelian Federation and Centauri Alliance. "Coordinator, Lee," he said with a slight smile, "I have good news to report. The Rigelians and Centaurians have just signed a mutual defense agreement. They're planning joint exploration missions to the Outer Rim. Lee felt a warm satisfaction. 6 months ago, those two species had been shooting at each other. Now, they were planning to work together to explore new worlds. Any problems with the transition to the new system? She asked. Some older officials miss having more centralized power, General Park admitted. But the younger generation loves the freedom to make their own decisions without waiting for approval from distant capitals. That was the key to the new galaxy. Instead of massive empires controlling hundreds of worlds, there were smaller federations where each world had real input into the decisions that affected them. Humans didn't rule this system, they just helped coordinate it and prevented anyone from trying to dominate others. General, what's the status of the protection protocols? All monitoring systems are operating normally. We've detected 3 attempts by extremist groups to restart oppressive governments, but local populations rejected them immediately. The early warning network is working perfectly. The protection protocols were humanity's insurance policy. Hidden sensors monitored political developments across the galaxy, watching for signs that any government was becoming too controlling or aggressive. If needed, human peacekeepers could respond instantly to protect freedom before it was lost. Coordinator, called Technology Specialist Kim from her workstation, we're receiving a request from the Altarian system. They want assistance setting up an improved planetary defense grid. Approved, Lee replied. Send a technical team to help them design it. This too was part of the new system. Any species could request help from humanity, and humans would provide assistance without asking for anything in return. The goal was to make every world strong enough to defend itself while ensuring no world became strong enough to threaten others. Ambassador Wu's communicator chimed with an incoming message. He read it and smiled broadly. Coordinator, you'll want to hear this. The New Harmony Education Council is reporting that interspecies student exchange programs have increased by 400% this year. Young beings from dozens of species are learning together on integrated campuses. And the human students? They're among the most popular exchange partners. Other species are fascinated by human problem-solving methods and our approach to creative cooperation. Lee felt proud of that achievement. Aliens had wanted to take human children away for re-education to reduce their violent tendencies. Now, alien parents were competing to send their children to schools where they could learn alongside human students. Coordinator Lee called Communications Specialist Han. We have a special request from the new council centers. The school group from New Seoul Elementary would like to visit the Harmony Station Council chambers for their civics project. Lee smiled. Of course. Arrange the visit. Hello. 2 hours later, Lee stood in the observation gallery of Harmony Station's council chambers and watched 20 young human children marvel at the sight below them. The chamber was filled with representatives from 40 different species working together on agricultural development projects. Unlike the old Galactic Council where species argued and threatened each other, the new chambers were places of cooperation. Beings with scales worked alongside beings with fur. Species that had been enemies for centuries now shared research and resources. 8-year-old Kim Min-seo pressed her face against the viewing window and pointed at a tall alien with crystal spines. Teacher Park, what is that person doing? She asked. That's Ambassador Kry's Tell from the Silicon Gardens, explained Teacher Park Yun-hee. She's sharing new techniques for growing food in space stations with representatives from 12 other species. Why is she sharing instead of selling? Min-seo asked. Because in our galaxy, we believe that when one species learns something helpful, all species should benefit from it. That's how we make sure everyone has enough food and medicine and safe places to live. Min-seo nodded seriously, like how my family shares vegetables from our garden with our neighbors. Exactly like that, Teacher Park confirmed, but with entire worlds instead of neighbors. Lee watched the children observe the peaceful work of galactic cooperation and felt a deep satisfaction. These young ones would grow up in a galaxy where freedom was protected, where cooperation was normal, and where no species feared being caged or controlled by others. Coordinator, Ambassador Wu said quietly, joining her at the observation window. Do you think we made the right choice? Revealing our true capabilities could have led to even more fear. Look at them, Li replied, gesturing toward the council chambers, where dozens of species worked together in harmony. The old galaxy was built on fear and control. This one is built on trust and cooperation. And if someone tries to return to the old ways? Li's expression became more serious. Then they'll discover that humanity's greatest retaliation wasn't making our enemies surrender. It was making them our friends, while ensuring they can never threaten anyone's freedom again. In the chamber below, Ambassador Kreis-Tel was teaching alien children how to grow crystal fruits, while human engineers helped design better water purification systems. Former enemies shared meals and told stories about their home worlds. Young Minseo turned away from the window and looked up at Li with bright, curious eyes. Ma'am, my grandmother says there used to be wars between different space people. Is that true? Yes, it's true, Li answered gently. Why don't they fight anymore? Li knelt down to the child's level and smiled. Because we taught them something very important. We showed them that taking care of each other is much more fun than fighting each other. Minseo considered this seriously. That makes sense. Fighting is scary and boring. Building things together is much more interesting. You're absolutely right, Li said. Outside the station's windows, ships from dozens of species traveled peacefully along trade routes that humans had rebuilt but did not control. The galaxy was free, and it would stay free, because humanity had learned that the greatest victory was not conquering enemies, but turning them into friends who chose cooperation over conquest.